Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing with our mini-series on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 124. And this will be our second lecture on the red lac that decorates Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. Now, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati writes in his book, Shri Radharasa Sudhanidhi, verse 206 as follows. Shri Radha's lotus feet that are willingly marked with lac with a brush by Hari's own hand, that are praised by the cowherd girls, that are very clever at different loving pastimes, that are hidden in the heart of the Upanishads, and that are full of dancing playfulness, are my only shelter. And his recently published book, Tava Katamrita, chapter 16, my dear godbrother Shivaram Swami shares a pastime where the gopi Rati Manjari, who of course appears in this world as Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, as we discussed last week, receives special mercy from the red lac feet of Srimati Radharani, Rati Manjari. Raghunath Das Goswami actually hints at this pastime in his Vilapa Kushramanjali, verse 17. In the mood of Rati Manjari, he addresses Srimati Radharani as follows. O damsel whose golden complexion defeats the pride of the turmeric bulb, scratched by fingernails, when will you be pleased to stamp my arm with the auspicious symbols embraced by the red lac on your soles, thus certifying me as a servant of your lotus feet. I'll recite that one more time. It's a very important part of this lecture. O damsel whose golden complexion defeats the pride of the turmeric bulb, scratched by fingernails, when will you be pleased to stamp my arm with the auspicious symbols embraced by the red lac on your soles, thus certifying me as a servant of your lotus feet. So this will become more clear as we go on. So the pastime as it's given by Shivaram Maharaj, I'll summarize it. It's quite long, but I'll summarize it. Beginning with Once Upon a Time. Prabhupada starts some of his talks like that, Once Upon a Time. After Radha and Krishna had enjoyed a playful day together, singing, dancing, eating, and swimming, Srimati Radharani's meticulously arranged appearance had become messy. Flowers had fallen from her hair, her sari was disheveled, and her necklaces, some of her necklaces had broken. And as she sat down on a jeweled seat under a flowering tree, Krishna looked at her with deep devotion. It's described as a worshipper would look at a deity. He thought, she is unbelievably beautiful. Her golden skin is soft and soothing. It can only be compared to itself. But if I had to compare it, I would say it is like fresh turmeric pulp. Still, her glow heals everything, even my own aching heart. Still, her glow heals everything, even my own aching heart. Now, Radha had understood Krishna's thoughts and felt pleased, but she wanted more than admiring glances. Acting like a proud heroine, she stamped her foot and said, I danced for you, and now look at me. If my friends see me like this, they'll laugh. My relatives might question my character. Krishna, you must fix my appearance right away. So hearing her, Krishna became overjoyed. Because serving Radha in that way, dressing and decorating her, was something even he rarely had the chance to do. As we discussed last week, the gopis, and especially the manjaris, maidservants, they usually have this privilege. So even Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, longed for such a service. So he began by starting to pick flowers to decorate her hair. But Radha stopped him. She said, "Krishna, start from my feet. The red lac on my soles has worn off. Reapply it immediately." So now Krishna was thrilled. Radha was treating him like her servant. He's submissive to her prem bhakti, her love. So he remembered how once she had lovingly worshipped his feet. So now it was his chance to return the favor. So he knelt down and placed her soft pinkish feet in his hands. And looking at her feet and then into her eyes, he waited for permission to begin. And Radha frowned slightly, silently urging him to begin. So though she looked stern, a faint smile on her lips showed how she was pleased. She was happy that Krishna was now expressing his love by serving her humbly. But at that point, it's described Krishna became overwhelmed. And he forgot what he was doing. Love. So Radha nudged him with her foot to bring him back to focus. And gazing at her feet again, he marveled at how his dark blue hands contrasted with the color, the golden color of her delicate feet. Now, Radha's maidservants were watching closely, ready to help. And to begin, Rati Manjari quietly brought a tray holding red lac, cotton swabs, and a golden stick for applying the red lac. Now remember, she's Raghunath Das Goswami in the earthly pastimes. So she placed it beside Krishna and sat beside him. And Krishna gently, at that moment, touched Sri Radha's feet and lifted her right foot, or adjusted her right foot, again, to apply the red lac with care. And he began by painting her toes. Then he covered her entire sole of her feet, that foot, with a neat border at the heel. A neat border at the heel. And though it's interesting that though Krishna creates countless universes effortlessly, he now took immense care in performing this humble service, something usually done by Radha's maidservants. Yet for him, it brought more joy, it's described, than ruling the cosmos. Who can understand the heart of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, when he engages in such loving pastimes? So after finishing that one foot, he moved to the other. And he kept checking his work, smiling proudly, it's described, making his peacock feathers sway with the movement of his head. And when both feet were done, he leaned back to admire them, as if they were a work of art. Then he looked at Rati Manjari, as if asking for her opinion. As the fresh red lac glowed on Radha's feet with Krishna's love. That's how it's described. The fresh red lac was glowing on her feet due to Krishna's love. It's described that red lac looked like the red sky at sunset before a full moon night, boldly expressing Radha and Krishna's intimate love. And the red lac on her feet became even more beautiful than before, and Krishna's eyes, like playful fish, swam in its beauty. He thought, "O red lac, do you realize how lucky you are? Great sages and demigods perform austerities for just a glimpse of these feet. A single dust particle from them touching my head would make my life perfect, yet you cover them entirely? Addressing the red lac. Remember, everything in Vrindavan is conscious. But the red lac remained silent. It didn't dare reply and make Krishna feel second best. Krishna, however, wasn't satisfied. He wanted to be present on Radharani's feet himself, it's described. At this point, he wanted to be present on her feet himself. So he looked at Rati Manjari, who looked down, understanding his desire. She could fulfill it, but she hesitated. In this situation, Krishna was the teacher and she was the student. She didn't feel it was her place to instruct him. Still, she closely observed him, wanting to learn how to apply the lac just like he did. One day when her turn came to serve in that way, she wanted to replicate his method perfectly to please Sri Radha. So then Krishna, he remembered, I am not different from my name. If I write my name on her feet, on Radha's feet, it will be as good as being there myself. Very instructive to all of us. Krishna remembered, I am not different from my name. If I write my name on her feet, it will be as good as being there myself. So excited, Krishna picked up the golden stick, dipped it in the red lac, and began writing his name on Radha's soles. First across the soles, then across the sides, but 2 signatures weren't enough. He furrowed his brow and kept writing wherever he found space, smearing the smooth surface of the lac into a blur of red lines. But he was too absorbed in bliss to notice. Like a bee collecting nectar, Krishna was completely engrossed in tasting the sweetness of Radharani's feet through his name. This sweetness wasn't just soothing, because Radha's feet, it's described, had a mysterious mix of moon-like coolness and fiery heat. A mysterious mix of moon-like coolness and fiery heat. At first, Krishna felt relaxed, like a cool breeze, but then a burning passion made him tremble and sweat. He felt both comfort and turmoil, calm and excitement, pleasure and confusion. His love for Radha made his emotions unpredictable. His eyes rolled, his lips trembled, and his hands shook. And the maidservants, the gopis, they were giggling watching him, going through all these emotions. And then Radha looked at him and asked, like, it's described, half annoyed and half amused, Krishna, what are you doing? He's writing all over his name. What are you doing? But Krishna tried to answer, but he could only stammer with tears in his eyes. Service, my service. He just managed to say that. So then, Sri Radha lifted her foot to inspect his work. But the careful painting was now a mess of red scribbles, because he's writing his name here or there. She said, what have you done? It was going well, and now you've ruined everything. My friends will laugh at me. What were you thinking? So Krishna looked ashamed. These are deep Vrindavan pastimes, transcendental loving pastimes. Krishna looked ashamed. He had meant to please her, but instead caused displeasure. He knew that Sri Radha's fiery moods could end their pastimes if he didn't act quickly. So he pleaded, I'm sorry, please forgive me. But Radha remained silent. Radharani remained silent. So Krishna looked at Rati Manjari, hoping for help. So she understood and stepped in. She said to him, you don't know how to do this, it appears. Let me show you now. So Krishna gratefully placed one of Radha's feet into Rati Manjari's small hands. And Rati teased, Krishna, shame on you for trying to serve Radha without actually knowing how to do it. And all the other maidservants, they continued giggling. But it's described, Sri Radha didn't share their amusement. She turned her gaze on Rati Manjari and said sharply, "Why are you laughing? Who asked you to help?" But before Rati could respond, Sri Radha, in a mood of a fit of transcendental frustration, kicked Rati Manjari lightly on the arm. And Rati lost her balance. And Sri Radha scolded, "You teamed up with him to embarrass me. You teamed up with Krishna to embarrass me. Who can I trust?" So Rati sat beside Krishna, now stunned. Her heart pounded and her hands shook like leaves in a storm. And with Lalita and Rupa not present, Krishna was her only support. So she turned to him, but noticed that he was staring at her arm, the one that Radha had kicked. Rati followed Krishna's gaze and saw it as a perfect imprint of Radha's foot on her arm, and within it a messy script, Krishna's name repeated over and over and over. And at this point, even Radharani was surprised. Everyone stared at the mark, Radha's foot mark on Rati's arm. It's described, it was shining like sunshine, with Krishna's names like birds flying in its light. So Rati stared at the mark, overcome with emotion. And as she did, her body glowed with happiness. She had received Radha's touch, a rare gift even the senior gopis didn't get. She thought, now I belong to her. I'll never wash this arm. Now I belong to her. I'll never wash this arm. And nearby Krishna thought, I don't even have such a mark. Radharani was thinking, how wonderful. And the maidservants thought, now Rati Manjari is the certified servant of the goddess Krishna himself serves. Now Rati Manjari is the certified servant, the stamp, of the goddess Krishna himself serves. So Krishna looked at Rati Manjari, then Radha, and then the others. And they all began to laugh. A pure, joyful sound is described like the Jamuna's water mixed with Vrindavan's honey. I like that. A pure, joyful sound. Everyone's laughing. Like the Jamuna River's water mixed with Vrindavan's honey. And because of Krishna's grace, Rati Manjari had received a visible token of Radha's mercy because of Krishna's grace. It's described even Lalita hadn't received such an intimate sign. This was a special gift from Sri Radha to her dear Manjari, and everyone, without exception, was more than pleased. This was Vrindavan. Everyone, without exception, was more than pleased. Such is Vrindavan, where envy simply doesn't exist. Hare Krishna. What a wonderful, wonderful pastime. So, in his book, Sri Ram Swami writes that devotees who hear this pastime may feel great joy and silently hope, maybe one day, by Radha and Krishna's mercy, I too will receive such a sign, a mark that shows I am Sri Radha's servant. I am Sri Radha's servant, or Manjari. Some devotees, I was thinking, may even compare this with another pastime, like we discussed last week, where Krishna took the red lac from Sri Radha's feet, and remember, touched it to his heart. They may wonder, who was more fortunate, Krishna or Rati? Krishna's followers may say it was him. In a famous poem by Jayadev Goswami, Krishna places his head at Radha's feet and begs her to put them on his head. And she did. And the red lac stained his hair, stained his hair. making him even more beautiful. So was that not a sign of his greater fortune? The devotee of Shri Radha might respond with a smile. In Radha's realm, everyone who receives her grace is most fortunate. But still, Rati was more blessed. Radha placed her foot on Krishna's head only after much begging. We've told the pastime before. Radha placed her foot on Krishna only after he would begging. But she kicked Rati spontaneously out of deep love. And though Krishna received her touch many times, Rati received it once, making it more rare and more special. Rati didn't ask for it. Radha gave it freely. Krishna himself once said, "The joy Radha and the gopis feel is far greater than what I experience. I want to taste it, but cannot, no matter how hard I try." Hare Krishna. So let us finish with a short but very deep and precious verse. It's short, but very precious verse by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, again in his illustrious Vilapa Kusumanjali. It's verse 17. O Queen of Vrindavan, since Rupa Manjari filled my eyes with the light in the land of Braj, I have yearned to see the red lac decorating your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Deep subject matters, but all meant to begin to bring forth some feeling for Radha and Krishna in their transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, and one day, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, only serve those lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki. That's the means by which we get home back to Vrindavan Dham, serving the Sankirtan movement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe Sharm. And once again, glorious to Shri